We have massive ETF news out of Google and Asia. And are they making yet another crypto movie? This one isn't starring SBF. This one stars someone who also had a rap career. It's time to discover crypto with Around the Blockchain. Thank you for joining, everybody. Make sure you go ahead and hit that like button. It doesn't do anything, but it does help our algorithm here. We got three phenomenal guests on, starting the Trading Wars champion so far, Jenna X. Jenna, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you. DZ, how are you today?
Doing well, doing well. Also on today, we have Piano Matty B, and he's been playing nothing but upbeat songs because Bitcoin is now moving to the green side here. Piano Matty B, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me. Yeah, we had a nice little pump here, so everyone's happy behind the maple curtain up here, from what I can see.
Except for the truckers. But then they went to the southern border of a different country. Also on today, we have Matt Snider. Matt, in the mutant gear, it is Mutant Monday. You know what? You inspired me. I wore some today. How are you doing today?
Doing fantastic, DZ. Excited for the release of Serum City and excited for the conversation today. Hope all's well on your end.
Now, you didn't name your mutant, did you?
I didn't because, maybe I should now that I think about it.
I don't know. I didn't either. We probably should, but I can't find myself doing it. All right, everybody, let's talk about Google ETF ads. They just announced huge update. Now, we reported on this in the past. They're now going to allow ETF ads. So there's a large blanket ban on crypto ads with Google. And if you didn't know, there's ad networks. And I did a little research. The second largest ad network in the world is Facebook/Meta, Instagram, Facebook. The largest ad network is twice as big as that one, and it's Google's ad network. It is by far the largest ad network in the world. And they quietly rolled out a change. Some would say it's at BlackRock's behest. They're allowing ETF ads for Bitcoin, and it starts today, everybody. The main aim of the new policy is clearer parameters and guidelines surrounding the introduction of crypto trusts. Just looking at some other research here, Google processes 8.5 billion searches weekly. Sorry, that is daily. 8.5 searches daily, used by 99% of all websites. Now, Jenna, they're rolling out ETF ads for Bitcoin on Google, the largest ad network in the world. Will this make any bit of difference?
Yes, I do believe that it will, because you have to think, all of these big companies, they're going to have an intense marketing war, because this is an opportunity to bring in tens of billions of dollars, into the industry. So I think that there's going to be a huge marketing push. I don't believe that everything is all priced in. I do think that we will see price action because of this. It might not be immediate, but I do believe that it'll be slower increase in price.
I agree. I think it's a thing of like attrition. You get a lot of people to get Bitcoin exposure on their 401k, and they probably don't remove that exposure. And these people might live, additional decades, maybe even a century if they're young enough. And so next thing you know, it just adds up more and more. All right. Well, Matty, I want to ask you, we have retail, going to get more exposure to Bitcoin. People watching at home, you, Matty, a lot of your Canadian maple brethren here, we understand Bitcoin is more than just digital gold. It's like, oh yeah, we have gold and we have digital gold. And, that's about the depths of my understanding is probably going to be most people, when they get a Bitcoin ETF. Oh yeah, digital gold, sure. We see it as something different. We see it as a symbol of freedom. We see it as the way to bank the unbanked. We see it as a way to protest against your government if the government tries to shut you down. Does retail need to understand all of Bitcoin's benefits for it to hit $1 million? Or is digital gold, is that enough?
Well, the interesting part about that is that it's going to be left up to the educators. And in this case, the educators are going to be the financial advisors. And we know how smart they are. They had like 60 hours of seminars and whatnot to become financial advisors. But now that they're the salesmen for Bitcoin ETFs, I don't think they're going to get knowledged up enough to pass the revolution on to the buyers. They will just probably use catchphrases like digital gold, store of value, right? But the good news about that is that a percentage of the people that get into the ETF just for the speculation will stick around for the revolution. And I think that's what the most important aspect of it all in the end.
All right. Well, you brought up these asset managers. Matthew, you actually have a little bit of, working relationships with these same people. Will these asset managers, they obviously all want to push an ETF product. They're all going to make, a little back end on the commissions here. But would they actually push a Bitcoin ETF over a gold ETF? If, say, that gold ETF had like 10% higher commission rate?
It's a great question. As an advisor myself and one who talks to them considerably, it's really a question, as Matty B said, of education. And I think that RIAs are inherently lazy. They don't really do anything that's differentiating. They just say, hey, here's some good ideas. Here's some digital gold. You want me to buy that for you? The antithesis of this is if the marketing goes to play the right way, and if people start to listen about what Bitcoin really is, and they start doing some research. If I'm watching a football ad or something and I see that, maybe I'll do some research on Bitcoin. They might start to question why they need a bank or an institution to do this anyways. And they might learn about wallets, and they might learn about self-custody, and they might do this themselves, completely obfuscating the need for an RIA or anybody to sell them on this product, which I find kind of ironic and hopefully a benefit to people who are actually buyers of Bitcoin and should be buyers of Bitcoin. Whether it makes sense to sell them on Bitcoin versus a gold ETF, I think RIAs are going to take any amount of money that they can get from people who are willing to, provide their assets to be managed.
All right. And speaking of managing, I'm looking at the chat. You guys are managing to have an awesome time in there. Please hit that like button. Kev, Kelly, Nicole, Truckdano, Shake and Bake, and the gang there, Tater. You're all in there. So please hit that like button. Help us spread this in the algorithm. Now we're going to go around the blockchain. Bring it back to Bitcoin advertising. Now we're going to talk about Super Bowl. No, we're not going to talk about Taylor Swift. I know, you hear NFL, you hear Super Bowl, you just assume you're talking about the Nashville pop star. No, we're talking about Super Bowl ads regarding Bitcoin ETFs. I'm going to ask everybody, Jenna, will we see them? Why or why not?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, because these big players, they're all competing for market share, and you're allowed to advertise a Bitcoin ETF, right? It's like government approved. It's not a regular shit coin or whatever. So I definitely think that you're going to be seeing these. They would definitely be missing out if they didn't. So I definitely say yes.
And Piano Matty B, you're Canadian, so I'm going to bring it to you. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine the Stanley Cup times a Stanley Cup. That's how excited we get over here. And if you don't know, Stanley Cup, also the Game 7, that's the NHL Championship final series there. So imagine Stanley Cup squared. That's how much excitement we're dealing with here. Will we see a Super Bowl ad regarding Bitcoin?
For sure, because haven't we seen one like every year since? Like I know maybe last year they skipped one, but I know we've seen it. But the thing is that money
the bear
talks,
market
right?
bottom.
Yeah, they skipped it there.
Which is when they needed it most. Matt, why do they? I mean, obviously, we know real reasons, but why should we have seen the bear market bottom Bitcoin ad?
Did you say Matt or Matt?
Matty.
Oh, gotcha.
Just follow up.
Well, it's money talk. So I find it funny that Google's now putting on the ads, because I bet you in the bear market there were companies going, can you we want to advertise, we're a small little this and that. They're like, no thanks. And then when Daddy comes for dinner, aka BlackRock, they're like, yeah, we're going to be advertising on you. And they're like, yes, of course we love crypto. We'll just change all the rules, so that's what we're going to see. I can't see it any different for the NFL.
I think that's exactly how it went down. BlackRock. Oh no, we do want to add. Whoa, hold on. We got all these rules that say BlackRock said I want to advertise. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. Well, we'll change the rules right quick, sir. I swear. Matthew, Matt Snider. Now, one, what are your take there? And will we see a Bitcoin ad at the Super Bowl?
Absolutely, we will. I think the question is, how many will we see? Because my bet is an over. I'll take the over on 2. So I'll take a 3 or more. I think I'm going to see 3 or more in the total Super Bowl ads. Also, last year we had the first NFT ad during the Super Bowl, which was the Digi-Daigaku kind of thing, where people had to screenshot the QR code, and this guy made a boatload of money off that one. And then the one previously was FTX. So a lot of great Super Bowl ads that have been done in the past about crypto. Hopefully these ones are a little bit better.
The only one who had it right at the time was Larry David saying, I'm not interested. We should have just listened to him. Robert Connor has a pretty good question here. Can we swing trade the 1 second chart during the Super Bowl. I'm going to ask everybody another related question. Let's say we get a plethora of Super Bowl ads that are regarding Bitcoin ETFs. Let's say they're actually pretty good. Will the markets be green or red the next day? Just thumbs up for green, thumbs down for red. Where are we coming in, Chad? It's a Monday. I'm gonna give it green. We're in a bullish period. All right, we got mixed reviews. Chat, what do you think is going to happen? Will we see some Super Bowl ads? And I like Matthew's phrasing here. What's the number? How many ads will we see? Put a number in the chat and we'll see. Well, maybe a revisit and who is right. All right, let's keep talking about ETFs, but this time Asia Bitcoin ETFs. We got Hong Kong gearing up for potential ETFs. It's going to be the first ever spot Bitcoin ETF in the works right now. It's not approved yet, but they say they have spoken to CoinDesk, sent a reporter over there. It's talked to a dozen analysts and industry participants, and they're saying, pretty likely, and not only that, the next country could be Australia, which is pretty close right there. The main reason given, why would we get a Hong Kong ETF? They saw what happened in the New York Stock Exchange and said, we don't want to miss the bus. Basically, there's fees to be had, there's fees to be accrued, there's money to make off of retail here. So looks like Hong Kong might be the next big player in the ETF markets here. Now, let's see here. I want to ask you this one, Matthew Snider. Is there any chance, have you been following the Evergrande story? It looks like,
Yes,
it fell 20%. They halted trading. It's a giant real estate company that was basically had to freeze operations essentially 2 years ago. They're trying to pay back their debts. And the people who were owed money, they went up to a judge and say, look, these guys aren't acting in good faith. We've been trying to get these debt from Evergrande. They just been dragging their heels. The judge stepped in and said, you're right. They froze Evergrande's operations. They're going to sell all their assets. Matthew, my question for you is there any chance there's going to be super rich, wealthy Chinese billionaires with real estate exposure? They're going to dump their real estate for Bitcoin ETFs. Can you see that shift happening?
Well, one big consideration for the Evergrande. I don't know
honestly. I'm near the Rio Grande, and my dad crossed it. So, does that count?
Rio Grande, Evergrande. We'll put an accent on it. I think one of the big challenges is that what happens in a lot of these institutions in China, and I used to live in China. I spent a year in China teaching English, so I can kind of attest to this in some form of government, state-owned sort of way. But my guess is that in order to control a lot of this, many of the assets are actually going to be rolled up into the government and not necessarily individual rich Chinese people. But I can see a world where there's a lot of people in that space or a lot of people affected either positively or negatively by this that would be interested in a Bitcoin ETF. One thing to just remember is that while Hong Kong is part of China, it's its own special economic zone, trades in a different centralized exchange than the traditional Chinese stock market. So just they are different in that sense. So just want to be clear on that.
How'd the students do whom you taught English? And I said whom. So, me know English kind of gooder.
I tell this story jokingly, but I was the supplemental teacher, so I was in charge of showing them Lady Gaga music videos. I convinced them that National Treasure was a documentary about the United States, and I showed them a lot of pictures about myself and my travels around China.
Did you dress as Lady Gaga like Gabe from The Office?
No, but thinking about that would have been a pretty good one.
It could have been a Kobe meat dress instead of just regular slabs of beef. All right, Matty, I want to ask you a question. What do you think? If we get this ETF approval, will we see a repeat in the excitement that we saw in America? We saw record inflows, record volume, highest traded ETF in history. Can history repeat itself twice in Hong Kong?
I think so too, because well, first off, I was pretty shocked at your story about China. They were actually in court talking about acting in bad faith. I wasn't sure you could actually act in bad faith and just, let bygones be bygones. I thought there's camps there that if you act in bad faith, you go to camp. See, behind the maple curtain here, propaganda for China is so heavy that we're told that if you step out of line in China, you just go to some camp for 20 years. Have you heard about that?
I've heard, again, I haven't seen with my own eyes that they put them in these camps and they actually have to shell garlic at such a rate their fingernails actually fall off. That's a real thing. I've heard. Again, I haven't seen it myself though.
Is that true about garlic? Because I love garlic. Now I'm going to look at it very differently.
It's what I heard. It's what I heard. If you get a crunch in there, you know, it might not be dried garlic there. All right.
I do think they're good. It's going to go crazy because they like to gamble in that part of the world too.
Yes, they do.
You know, these digital assets, it's all gambling, right? So they'll go in head first on that one. I'm looking forward to it. Nice pump.
All right. Anthony Ackley, I'm looking forward to his bold crypto Super Bowl commercial. He said, Coke in you will run a Super Bowl ad. Boy, would that be something. All right, Jenna, last question on this ETF. Who do you think will like an ETF more? Will it be American retail or Chinese retail?
Ooh, I don't know. Well, you know, I know like so much about Hong Kong. I'm actually a Hong Kong expert. I'm really glad that you brought me on the show for that. But honestly, I'm totally lying. I don't know shit about Hong Kong. But I think that the Asians will like it more because like they haven't been able to buy crypto and everything. So if that's approved, I think they're going to go for it. And besides, if their real estate and everything's collapsing, just invest in crypto and create and sell some NFTs and you'll be fine. So I think they're going to love it.
All right. Well, we will see. That's going to be interesting to see. But speaking of interesting to see, there's another crypto movie in the works, everybody, by Amazon. Deep Pockets. They got a pretty big film movie studio over there. Amazon MGM. They're going to, remember Amazon bought MGM? That was our sign right there. Well, they're going to make a movie about the $4 billion, $3 billion now Bitfinex hack. RazzleCon is going to be the reported title of the movie. And that was the comedic rapper persona of Heather Morgan with her and her husband, Ilya Lichtenstein. They laundered more than $3 billion from Bitfinex. They were described as Bitcoin's Bonnie and Clyde by very reputable newspaper, the New York Times. And following the hack, folks, they stole 120,000 Bitcoin, 119,754. When they were seized and arrested, the Bitcoin, when it was stolen, it was only worth $54 million only. $54 million. And rode that thing up to $3 billion. It's easy to ride Bitcoin up when it's illegal to sell. You're probably less inclined to sell right there. Morgan pled guilty to committing money laundering and conspiracy to defraud the U.S. Each has a minimum 5-year sentence right there. So the other one, 20 years sentence in prison there. Well, Jenna, I'll throw it to you here. What are your thoughts on this scheme?
Thoughts on the scheme? Honestly, I was not paying attention. Can you skip me?
Yes, we'll skip you. We have a crypto heist happening here. At least she's admitting it instead of just pulling stuff from the you-know-what. Piano Matty B, what were your thoughts on this scheme?
I didn't know that was an actual answer you could give on around the blockchain. I'll keep that in mind for the next time. I've always thought that this was a kabuki theater. Like this was a way for the American government just to commandeer, if it were, Bitcoins. And they make up an elaborate story like these two kids, these DJs that live in Manhattan, they were the fall guys. And we're just going down that rabbit hole. Now it's a movie and everyone's going to laugh at it and everyone's going to forget that they didn't even do any time for anything. And they'll probably make a lot of money on the back end of the movie and no one will remember anything because it's all kabuki theater when it comes to the U.S. government. You know, normally I hear conspiracy and my mind isn't blown because I feel like, I kind of just assume that to be true. Holy smokes, Matty B. Matthew, what are your thoughts on that? Is this all an op so our dark entities can continue to have dark money?
I think it is atrocious that the only movies that get full-time exposure in this space are dealing with scammers and people that take advantage of the system to perpetuate this ideology that all people and only people who are using crypto are using it for malicious intent, we're using it to defraud people, scam people. It may be exciting popcorn fodder, but I think it's absolutely one-sided and very, very planned to have this narrative perpetuated out there. And I think it's just terrible for the ecosystem.
All right, I had to make sure everything was safe for YouTube here. Share my screen. We have some images of RazzleCon, the rapper. Here's some of her famous photos from her rap career. Stick here till we see the the mugshot there because we'll be getting that. Oh, okay. Oh, hey, I'm edgy. I'm in front of this statue here. Tough. Oh, like that. Hey, tongues out. We're edgy. Hey, 0 Fs, because that's how we live. And then, oh man, the edgelord continues. And then that's how it ended, folks, right there. So, RazzleCon, I hate to say, it's probably going to be pretty entertaining. Jenna,
shout out to Dyson, though. Shout out to Dyson vacuums.
For sure. Jenna, will you at least watch?
Oh my God. Yeah, I'll totally watch. Listen, I will watch any kind of like crypto documentary, good or bad, crypto movie. If it has the word crypto in there, I'm totally going to watch, but I'm sure it'll probably be really good. A lot of these Netflix movies involving crypto are good. But to add on to what Matthew was saying, I disagree. I think any publicity for crypto is good publicity. And because I think it'll just kind of spark interest in people who are like, oh, well, let me go check this out. I don't think that they'll instantly think, oh, this is bad, because think about all of the movies that are out there. They're like drug movies where people are getting cash. Like I've been binge watching Power. That doesn't make me go think, oh, cash is bad just because they're using it for these activities. You know what I mean? So I think it's actually going to be really good.
Ghost, really good character, really short, but a really good character there. Tommy, a little over the top. I had to quit watching.
I love Tommy.
Maddie, I want to ask, when the value went from 50 million to 4 billion at the peak, what do you think was going through their heads?
They are probably saying, well, our handler from the CIA did not tell us that this was going to go from 50 billion to 3 billion. I don't know. I feel like this could be a setup. What do you think? And then she said, no. My mom works at the CIA and your dad works for the NSA. They can't be setting us up. We're good. Don't worry about it. Look at all the videos I made at the CIA headquarters of me doing with the 0 Fs, all those things. They have tons of money behind this. Don't worry about it.
And Matthew, I'll end it with this question. Jenna's bringing up a good point. All publicity is good publicity. Well, what about a slate of negative movies? Say someone watches this movie, then they watch 2 Sam Bankman movies. Is there any chance this will repel more people into crypto than it'll attract?
So 2 words: cognitive dissonance. When people have a view about something, whether good or bad, and they see something that reinforces their view, they're more likely, or even against their view, they're more likely to entrench themselves in the view that they've had originally. So my concern is that people who might be on the fence, or people who might be listening to politicians say, oh, this is bad, or it's being used for criminal intent, they're going to see this on Netflix and be like, I told you so. I knew it. Look at these criminals. They're all criminals. And all it's going to do is polarize people even more. Yes, publicity is great. And yes, we need more people being exposed to this. But how about a documentary about how blockchain works so that we can educate people on what this technology actually does?
Yeah, boring.
I want to see RazzleCon and then dunk on her, Matthew, one last question here. I just kind of a follow-up here. CIA openly used Hollywood stars, starlets, and movie studios in the 50s and 60s to help push a public opinion. Do you think those type of psychological operations continue today?
I'm watching Homeland for the first time, and absolutely 100% they must happen today. I want to be a CIA asset. It'd be really cool.
You know what? I saw the new Mission Impossible, and the whole thing looked like predictive programming. But folks, I think, we got to go ahead and stop this stream before we turn into the basement. Next thing you know, you're going to start seeing glitches happening with this video feed, and you might hear a helicopter followed by some... we won't say what they'll say after that. But folks, that is all we have time for. You know what? Let's see. I got to throw it to Matty B for the conspiracy of the year so far. Thanks for putting that one on my radar. Matty B, if you just want to give the people some parting thoughts, let us know what it's like, your perspective from above the maple curtain.
Well, listen, if anyone ever tells you that there's nothing to learn on around the blockchain, you tell them this. Guess what? There's Chinese prisoners without any nails making all your garlic for you.
We are... All right, that's all I've got to say, folks. If you know, you know. Hit that like button on the way out.